let's talk about pick-me's. What is a pick-me? Because seems like pick-me's get a bad rap. So a pick-me would be considered a woman who want to be picked, who want to be chosen. And because she wants to be chosen, she's interested in finding out what the man that she wants to pick her wants from her or needs from her. And she tries to build herself to be that type of person. And society shuns her for it today, especially in the especially a feminist will berate her, look down on her for being that way. On the contrary, feminists are these sectioned off individuality mindset type of women who want to be independent, seek to not need men, and seek to go against the grain of what women traditionally have been. And it's relatively a new concept, but it's not so new that we don't have data and statistics for that. So, what is a feminist? Well, I'm not here to give you Webster dictionary. I'm here to give you what it means in layman's terms. And that is, a feminist is what I just described. She doesn't she doesn't it's she doesn't feel like she need a man. She has a first world point of view. You can't be a feminist all over the world. You can only be a feminist if you are propped up to have a platform to be a feminist. Now, what do I mean by that? In a third world country, even if a woman wants to be a feminist, she'll have a impossible time trying to be a feminist because she's not able to manipulate nature in the same way that a man manipulates nature. Women have the power of persuasion, okay? But persuasion isn't something that you can actually physically do. It is a mental manipulation. And I'm not saying persuasion is bad, but it is a mental manipulation to make someone or someone's want to do something that you may not want to do, or you may not physically be able to do, or better yet, you don't have the endurance to continue to do. Now, from a physical perspective, let me be very clear. Women can do some of anything that men can do, okay? I'm not here saying women can't do this and women can't do that. Now, women have their limitations, just like men in their categories have limitations. But women, when they are actually doing the things that men physically do, that comes natural to men, what you will find historically is that they're not able to do it at the same intensity, at the same strength, and at the same endurance level of a man, because women are not designed physically to be able to do the same things that a man can do with the duration. Now, you have women out here who are bosses, CEOs, managers, general managers. They're holding political positions, so on and so forth. So, and that is something that we see in a first world country like America or Europe, but we don't necessarily see in third world countries that are not as developed. And when we get to the origins, because I always say get to the origins of things, when we get to the origins of development, then we have to ask ourselves, who is doing the development? Now, what makes a third world country different from a first world country? We can just, from a physical standpoint, we can look at streets, buildings, job creations, and those are just some of the things to name a few. Now, in some underdeveloped countries, for one reason or another, there might not be as much in terms of job development, in terms of streets instead of buildings and things like that. They don't have maybe as much of those things that that's developed there. Food, water. If those things are very hard to come by and hard to get, that takes some physical manipulation. And for an example, a man's hands is on average is about 17 and a half times stronger than a woman's hands. And that's not to be discriminating. That's just stating the simple fact. When you look at, take for instance, you have female bodybuilders and you have male bodybuilders, but there has never been a female that has eclipsed a physical record that a man has achieved or accomplished. Now, why is that? Is that because we don't that because we're putting down women? Is that no? Is that because we don't like women? No. That is just simply for the fact of the matter of the highest achieving woman in terms of the bench press, in terms of the squats, in terms of anything has come short of men. Now watch this statistic. So let's look at the female bench press world record, okay, as of April the 14th, 2023. All right. So there is a woman who her name is Ray Ann, and she bench pressed 605 pounds. Now that's pretty darn impressive, okay? I never benched 605 pounds, okay? I also have not. I've only the most that I benched was 450, but and that's real strong because I don't know a lot of people who can bench 450, and of course now I'm a shell of myself, as you can see. But for a woman to bench press 605 pounds, that is astronomical. That is dedication. That's hard work. That's not something that came natural to her. That's something that she really, really worked harder than, and nobody worked harder to get it than she did. But uh, when we look at the bench press for a man, there is a man according to records. His name is Jimmy Cobb. Okay, Jimmy Cobb. He benched pressed 1,350 pounds. All right. So now 1,350 pounds is that's just crazy. That's unheard of, right? Unheard of. You probably didn't know that. But 605, 1,350 pounds. Okay, they are both impressive. Make no mistake about it. If I'm in a fight with somebody who can bench press 600 pounds, okay, I've got my hands full. Even when I wasn't a shell of myself, I would have my hands extremely full. And so you're talking about Ray Ann, who bench pressed over 600 pounds. If me and her were to get into a physical fight, it would be a challenge for me. But even if I got into a physical fight with Ray Ann, which I'm not condoning a man getting in a fight with a woman. But what I'm saying, I'm trying to illustrate here is if I got into a physical fight with Ray Ann, she could definitely, from a upper body standpoint, overpower me. But then the question would be, would she have the endurance, if I could last, to continue to overpower me? Because you can start off benching 605 pounds, but can you, for the duration, continue to do that? Because when you're tired, you're not benching your peak. When you see fighters fight, fighters are punching harder in the first round than they are in the 12th round. Unless that athlete is a special kind of conditioned athlete. And maybe Ray Ann is. But what I'm generally saying is that women bodies are not built physically to have the same type of endurance that a man has. And I don't think I need to really point that out. And I'm not trying to belittle because there are things that women do that they do better than men do. Okay, my wife do a lot of things better than I do, and I don't have any ego about it because she's on my team. So if my wife comes through in a certain particular category and she comes through better than I could come through because she has uh, a je ne sais quoi, if you will, about her to make sure that things get done, and she's able to persuade or she's able to manipulate to achieve those things, I'm she's part of my team, so I have no issues with that. We're not in competition with each other, and that's the problem. You think that men and women, feminists, are in competition with men, and the only thing that men find as a threat and in competition of is other men. It's like when we look at each other when we first meet each other, we kind of size each other up to see, hey man, can I take this guy, or what would it take to take this guy? And so a lot of times when I was much smaller and I was slender, I didn't get the same look from guys that I get from guys even now, even though I'm not the same size I was when I was in college. I don't get the same look and I don't get the same respect level uh, at that point that I get now, because I look like I'm capable more than the average person. Now, that doesn't mean people aren't going to try me or they're not going to test me. That doesn't mean that. It's just that when you look at somebody and you say, oh, that's a sizey guy or that's a big guy, he could possibly do this, that, and the other. Maybe you find out more about him and you say, oh, well, he's a nice guy. He doesn't have that kind of mentality. It's all good. It's all cool. But from an initial standpoint, someone might look at me and say, you know what? I, I probably couldn't take him, or it probably would be a challenge for me. Do I want that type of smoke? And I'm not here to talk about what kind of smoke I have and what kind of smoke I don't. I'm just trying to use myself as an illustration. So now we're looking at Ray Ann, and then we're looking at Jimmy Cobb, and we're seeing that these people hold the record for bench press in the world. And look at the difference. And I want to isolate these two individuals, and I want to say, in order to be able to become a world record holder at anything, it probably takes harder work than anybody else and dedication more than anybody else. So these two individuals respectively have really, really worked hard to get to the point that they're trying to get to. But you can obviously tell that no matter how hard Ray Ann works, 1,350 pounds is not something that's in sight, in sound, in mind, or anything. This is why I'm saying that uh, this is why women sports don't compete with men's sports. I think right now there's a boxer named Clarissa Shields, and she wants to fight a man. Now, listen, we've seen this happen throughout history. Okay, I remember Venus. I remember Venus and Serena Williams at a long period point in time were dominating the sport of tennis, of women's tennis. But there were some measurements that you can see in terms of their serve and stuff like that, how hard they were hitting the ball. And so they were hitting the ball harder than the other girls that they were playing in competition with by far. But but if you took those same numbers and you put them in the men's circuit, that was more of a normality, and so that would be the normal case. So they asked Serena Williams one time, could you beat a man? And she set the record straight. Now Clarissa Shields, she's thinking something else. Now I think she's a little bit ahead of herself saying that she wants to fight a man. And to be honest, there is nothing for a man to gain for fighting a woman, because if he beats Clarissa Shields, it's a win-win situation for her. She want to use that opportunity to get win-win. She probably wants to use that opportunity to get some money, the money that's not generated in women's boxing. So she's probably using that as an opportunity. And even if she goes in there and she loses, she's not going to lose any respect or anything. Matter of fact, it's going to go up for her because people are going to say, wow, she challenged a man. Nobody's ever done that. She went to a place nobody's ever been. And it's a setup for that man because if he does compete with her or whatever the case may be, and he beats her, there is nothing he's going to gain from beating a woman. As a matter of fact, he's going to be disrespected because he fought a woman. Like, why would you do that? Like if a woman said, I challenge you to a boxing match, I'm not taking that boxing match. And even if she said, yeah, what are you scared? You think I'm going to whip your hind parts or something like that? It wouldn't even be about that. The grander scheme is men and women should not, under any circumstance, be in competition. And if a man and a woman finds themselves in competition, it generally will be because she is in and utilizing a lot of masculine energy. Now, if she is, because have you ever seen a situation where a woman is dainty, very feminine, and have nothing masculine about her, and you see a man trying to compete with her or fight her or whatever the case may be? If in the rare case you say that you've seen something like that, guess what, buddy? That means that he ain't operating in masculinity and he's operating in femininity. But here's the thing I'll even say to challenge that too. Two women that are in their femininity aren't competing with each other either. They're working together. Because women in their feminine state don't compete. They build. Women are community. Women are reproducing. So competition is not a characteristic. So what you're saying, Lee? You're trying to say that every woman that's in competition is operating in some masculine energy? Yeah. Yes. That is true. It doesn't mean that they are feminist. It doesn't mean that they are masculine. It just means that they are utilizing some semblance of masculinity because competition is associated with masculinity and not femininity. And I don't care if you disagree. The facts are the facts that when you see a woman who is competitive, she's showing you and exhibiting towards you masculine energy. I used to have this girl that I knew. I don't want to say her name, but this woman was in high school. This girl was so gorgeous. She was so beautiful, or whatever the case may be. She was a hell of a basketball player. She was dainty and everything. But when the basketball competition started, she changed. She was elbow swinging. And you ever seen a woman who plays basketball and she's doing it in a feminine way? Soft, dainty, whatever the case. She's not very successful. And I don't know anybody that wants to be in a competition and lose on purpose. No. If you're in competition, there's going to be a level of hatred in some semblance. There's going to be a level of rage. There's going to be a level of anger. There's going to be a level of concentrated energy and focus and strength that's going to be to put you in a situation to try to do your best to win the competition or have success within the competition. Because nobody, and I repeat, nobody wants to lose. Nobody signs up to lose. A lot of times, people who think they're going to lose just won't even participate. Because it's like choosing your battles. All right, so when we start talking about the difference between men and women, their strength is not the strength of a man. Their strength is in their persuasion. Their strength is in their emotional intelligence. Their strength is in seeing the details of things. And these are just to name a few of their strengths, not all of their strengths. But men don't have the same strengths as women, and women don't have the same strengths as men. When you do see it, it's because there is misusage of masculine and feminine energy. But a true man and a true woman, they're not in competition with each other. So, what is a true woman? Well, a true woman is a companion and a helpmate. That's when a woman is operating in her truest feminine energy. She's not sitting there saying I can do it all by myself. She's not saying that she doesn't need help from a man. On the contrary, she has an appreciation for a man because she understands what her strengths and her weaknesses are, and she knows that most of her weaknesses are overcome by a man, and she's okay with that. The same thing about a man who operates in his truest element of masculinity. He understands where his shortcomings are, and what he understands is who has that shortcoming, who fills the void of that shortcoming, and that's a woman. This is why we're interdependent. So anybody that's trying to teach you that we're not interdependent of each other, man, cancel them out, because we don't have any data that says otherwise. And when you look at different types of species of animals, nobody has a problem with their roles. Lions and lioness don't have any problems. You know, zebras don't have any problems. The male and the female zebras, the male and the female elephants don't have a problem. You know, go into the animal kingdom. Go into the land animals and go into the sea animals. Nobody has a problem with the role that they are supposed to have. But because man have a godlike complex, and we think that we're better than we think that we're better than whom is responsible for us being here, which is all consciousness, we somehow think that we can do things better. We're the only ones that naturally, let me take that word natural back, because a lot of us are influenced by the things in the environment. But when a man or a woman wants to operate and act like the opposite sex, or they want to go and get opposite sex changes and things like that, what that is basically saying is, I do not approve me in the manner that I am. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to correct that to what I think I should be. Well, I don't care how you cook it or slice it. If you are trying to change yourself from what you are designed to be, then you're saying that the way I was created was wrong and I need to fix it. So now what does that say about you? Okay, so we have to be mindful of that. We have to be very, very mindful of the fact that the way you were created was for a specific purpose. And when you get away from the way you were created, then you are going to miss the mark on your purpose, because every cell in your body was specifically designed and created for a purpose for you. Now, I'm getting a little too off. I want to get back to what I'm saying about these pick-me's, okay? So a pick-me is a woman who wants a man to pick her. She might not want every man to pick her, and if she's wise, she doesn't want to be picked by any man, but the certain type of man that she wants, she is interested in understanding as best as possible what are the things that man or that type of man wants. And then she goes and she works on herself to make sure that she meets the criteria. Because here is the thing. When you go to the store and you pick up your groceries and you get to the checkout line, you cannot check out unless you have the money to pay for it. And a lot of times when guys are saying, well, what do you bring to the table as a woman? And she can't answer that. Or what do you bring to the table as a woman? And she gets irritated with that question. What a man is really, really trying to find out without revealing his cards is, I want to hear from you what you're going to be able to bring to me to take me to another level. Because a man is always concerned about his status. He's always concerned about his ability to move to a new level. And he understands, if he is a real man and he has done some homework on himself, the strengths and the weaknesses of himself, and then it narrows his focus in terms of what type of woman he's looking for. So now, we're not associating ourselves with feelings, because you'll hear a lot of women say men are not interested in staying in relationships. They're leaving relationships, this, that, and the other. But again, like I always say, arguing with facts makes you look foolish. And so, ladies, I'm just, not ladies, because ladies don't have this problem, but females, I'm telling you, You have to understand that if you're arguing about something that can be proven, if you're arguing against something that can be proven, you're not making yourself look intelligent. You're just making yourself look real foolish. So if a woman says, all right, look, I think that men are out here and they're not getting involved in relationships. And the facts are, even though women outnumber men, they are more, and even in our copper tone community, even though women outnumber the men, there are more men like me who are getting married than women. Now, it would be one thing if it was a 50-50 divide where it's, out of, let's just say out of 40 million, and I know that's not the right number, but I'm just using that. If out of 40 million copper tone people, 20 million were black. 20 million were women, and 20 million were women, and 20 million were men. And we found out that more men are getting married than women. You'd have an argument of some sorts because the numbers would be exactly the same. But as you know, there's more women than there are men in general and in the copper race. So when we say there's a shortage of men because there are men in our race who choose to be with same sex, there are men in our race that are having shorter lifespans, going to prison. 75% of the prisons are copper people. And that's crazy. And so you have all of that against you. Even if it was a 50-50 in terms of population, you have all of those variables against men to bring and drive down the availability of eligible men to get married, available to get married. You're not getting married if you're in jail. You're not getting married if you're dead. You're not getting married to a woman if you choose to be with men. Even under those circumstances, 50-50 in population, more men that look like me, eligible men that are copper colored, are married more than copper tone women. So if we're not going to take ownership of that being the fact, we're just fools. And I'm going to tell you, men don't have time for foolishness. And even the Bible tells us not to entertain fools. And anybody that's going to sit there and argue with the facts, against the facts, that's just foolish behavior. You don't want to be called a fool, don't do foolish things. But these pick-me's, they are not foolish. They know that even though in a woman's 20s, 30s, and sometimes 40s, that they are able to physically do things for themselves, and a lot of it because we live in a capital-based society and women can go out there and they can pay for anything that they want. That feeds into the system because women are consumers and they want you to be consumers. But when a woman is married, a woman doesn't have to consume as much. Let's take me for an example. If we're having some problems if we're having some basic plumbing problems, we don't need to call a plumber because I can help with that. If we're having some basic car troubles, we don't need to call a mechanic. I can take care of it. If we're having some basic problems in the house with electricity, we don't need to call an electrician. I can handle that. Now, can I do it to the extent of advancement in every category? No. I can go out there and I can change the oil. I can go out there and I can change the brakes. I can go out there and change tires. I can rotate tires. I can top off fluids. I can do those things. And women, yes, they can do those things too. But when given the opportunity, do women want to do that? Or do women do that because they have no choice to do it? So let's not misconstrue wanting to do something and when given the choice, not wanting to do that. Yeah, well, women are out there changing oil, changing tires, this, that, and the other. Yes, okay, when you find a woman that want to do that, is that the norm or is that an anomaly? because an anomaly doesn't count. When you see a woman who knows how to fight, is that a norm or is that like an anomaly? When you see a woman who carries a gun, or a woman that is a ringleader and a drug dealer or something and running an organization, is that the norm or is that an anomaly? So let's just stop this confusion or this misconstruedness about what's the norm and what's an anomaly. Because a lot of times feelings will make you take something that's anomaly and try to preach that and position that as the norm. And that's not the case. When women are saying, oh, well, women are out here making money and they paying for their houses, buying their cars, doing this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. If we took 100 women, would 51 or more of them be doing that or not? And whomever is doing that, now when we add, of all of those women that are doing that, are women out here paying the bills, all of the bills, paying for the food, paying for the groceries, buying the house, working on cars, and working in these jobs that men dominate? Are women doing those things because they want to do them, or are they doing them out of necessity? Because you're saying that women are raising children by themselves, and I'm telling you, majority of women that are raising children by themselves that are of sound mind do not want to raise them by themselves, but they don't have a choice. If a woman consciously has a child by a man and does everything she can, lie, steal, and cheat to keep that father out of that child's life, that's not a mentally sound woman. Because you've got mentally sound women who end up, for whatever reason, raising children by themselves, and they wish the fathers would come around and talk to the children, see the children, spend time with the children, get them on the weekends, this, that, and the other, and can't get men to do that. And why is that? It's because these men today have grown up. They've grown up being raised by a woman, so they didn't have a man to teach them how to be a man. So they moving and functioning like women. And when it comes to responsibilities, that's not something that women want to have. Women don't naturally want to have responsibilities. But if they have responsibilities, women will do whatever they got to do. And that is the mantra of women. Today I see women will do what they have to do. But also the feminist movement is duping women to take a raw deal. Because what happens is when you are in your 20s, in your 30s, in your 40s, you physically can do the things that you need and you want to do. But when you get up past that point and you start to feel your bones crack, and you start to feel the pains and the aches, and you start getting symptoms of this and that and the third, or whatever the case may be, you're going to need more than money, or you're going to need even more money. So the older a woman gets, the more money she needs, because there are going to be more things that she needs if she's alone. Now, if a woman has a husband, the more things that she needs, her husband, his value increases with time. Especially if he's leaned in to his marriage, his value goes up. But if a woman gets, the divorce rate is, the average age of a divorce is 8 years. Listen to that, 8 years. So women aren't even, and 80% of the divorces are coming from our women. So if women aren't even giving themselves time for the marriage to take hold in terms of the value, then women don't see the value in marriage. They're seeing in it really a short-sighted way, because if you're married to a man long enough, there's possibility of alimony and child support, which is putrid, but a lot of women are buying into that, and they just want to get in to get a bag. Or they want to get in and they want a man to take care of them. They want to use the notion of how men by nature want to provide and to protect, and they want to use that even without commitment. From day one, they want a man to take them shopping. They want a man to buy them things. They want a man to pay their bills, this, that, and the other. And there's simps and tricks out there that are doing that, so it's making it possible. What I'm saying to men is, don't be a simp and don't be a trick. But it ain't simping and tricking when it's someone who has earned their place with you and have a covenant with you. Not a marriage. Not see the legal tender doesn't mean anything. But I shouldn't have said tender. But the legal document doesn't mean anything. It's the covenant that means something. What did you pledge to that person? What do you stand for that person? Because there are people who get married and they don't act married. There are people who get married and they don't honor their marriage. But a covenant is something that's deeper. It's serious. You don't make a covenant with somebody unless you are core serious. So when we start talking about these pick-me's, they know what kind of man they want, and they know the market value that it takes to get that type of man, and they understand what it takes to keep a man. But you got women today, you got feminists today that make women feel bad if they're catering to their man. If she's bringing him breakfast in bed, if she's cleaning after him, cooking for him, if she is meeting him at the door with love and embrace, if she's making love to him whenever he would like to make love or whatever the case may be, feminists would say, then that better be a perfect man. And he better check every last box. Now, how realistic is a man that a woman has 275 boxes and a man checks all of them? I don't check all of them. As a matter of fact, I was talking earlier today to someone about grading yourself on a level from 1 to 10. And if you give yourself a 10, you're saying, I don't need any room for improvement. I am actually at the apex of what I'm supposed to be. There is nothing else for me to do. And whether you're a man or a woman, that being the case, nobody's a 10. I'm certainly not a 10. If somebody asked me, hey, Lee, what would you rate yourself on a level 1 to 10? I'd say a 4. And why do I say a 4? Oh, so you're saying you're below average? No, it's not in comparison to anybody else. It's a 4 in comparison to the peak of myself. I have more things to improve upon on myself than I do not having to do anything about myself. I'm still on a weight journey. I'm still on a health journey. I'm still on a mental journey, a physical journey, emotional journey. I have so many things that I have to work on. I'm not going to sit here, and it ain't got nothing to do with my confidence. I'm very confident in myself. But what I'm saying is if I had to rate myself on a scale from 1 to 10, I'm saying a 4 because I'm not at even the average level of where I see myself being realistically. And I'm not talking about these lofty expectations that I'm never going to reach. I'm talking about a 10 is somebody mentally that got it together and maintaining it. Physically got it together and maintaining it. So if a man or a woman says I'm a 10 and they can't look down and see their belt buckle when they stand up, they're not a 10 because they're basically saying I don't need to do anything to work on myself. And you do. Oh, well, people like big women, and there is men that like big women. But the thing about it is, if it's not about what other people like, it's a competition within yourself. It's about improving yourself. Is that the best that you can be? Or is having your stomach hang over your belt, is that going to cause some underlying health problems if it stays that way? So we're not even talking about what other people think when we say 1 to 10. We're talking about, and I'm not talking about the dating market. See, that's different. What does the dating market think of you is different than what you think of you. Now, if you're sitting there and you're saying I'm a 10, you're basically saying there is nothing that I can do at this point that would make me better because I am super awesome. Now, you might be a 10 in the looks department, but if you have a bad attitude, you're not a 10 overall. Look, when you go to school, I remember when I was in grade school, we would have 6 or 7 classes every semester. When I got my grades, there would be classes that I got A's in, and then there would be classes that I got B's in and C's in. Okay, so if I'm gonna take one of those classes that I got an A in and say, well, I'm an A, I'm an A. No, I'm not an A all the way around because my report card reflects what I am an A in, B in, C in, D in, or an F in. And some of us are I's, like incomplete. So we're gonna call these pick me's. We're not gonna shun these pick me's because the pick'ems want to pick the pick me's. And if you're a feminist, you are less concerned about what a man wants and you're more concerned about what you want. And that's not how you contain a man. That's not how you keep a man. I don't like that word contain. That's not how you keep a man, by assuming what he wants. Because in general, the type of men you want, they want certain things. And then you have to look at individually, there are going to be some unique differences that this one wants and that one wants. So you got general things that men that you desire want. And if you're not considering that, you may get picked, but you're gonna get picked and you're gonna get pulled. Ever go to the junkyard? They do the pick and pull. A junky car comes through there, they go through the car, they pick out different aspects of the car, and then they take the rest, they pull those pieces off and they sell those pieces, and then they throw the rest of the car away. So it's the same thing. If you're not mindful of what a man wants, he will entertain you in a sense of getting what he wants out of you, and then he's going to throw you away. And he might do it, most of the time he's going to be covert the way he throws you away. Like he'll stop calling, he'll stop dealing with you, he'll stop talking to you. Not like women. Women are more outwardly, they want to kind of, broadcast what it is about you and everything like that. And a lot of them feel like, if I can't have him, now I don't want nobody else to have him. Or if I think he a dog, then I'm doing a public service by letting everybody know he's a dog, so nobody else makes the mistake. It's always personal. Because if it wasn't personal, it'd be like, it just didn't work out for me. So the creation of a woman. Now, some of you are going to have different opinions on this. When I say this, some of you are going to not believe this. And if that's the case, that's cool. You and what you believe in and where it sits with reality is going to get you the results that you are going to get. But when we ask women, what are they looking for? Everything they say is always superseding what they are. So if a woman is this level of intelligence, she's not dealing with anybody below that. Typically, she doesn't want to deal with that. But if she is this level of intelligence, she wants anything above. And a lot of times, when a woman is delusional, she wants somebody way up there in the stratosphere. Why? Why does she want somebody way in the stratosphere? This is because society teaches her that she can get that. She can have it all. But the higher you get up, you ever think about the fact that the higher you get up in terms of your pickiness, the more picky that man can afford to be. See, if a man is average, he can't realistically ask for anything better than where he is. Or he can't ask for lofty things because his market value doesn't allow him the opportunity to be able to get that. But if a man but if a man is at the top of the heap, if a man is in the top 1% in terms of income, if a man is in the top 1% in terms of height and physicality and talent and abilities or whatever the case may be, the world's gonna let him know. And when the world lets him know, he's going to be able to recognize where he measures up, and he's going to be able to make some different types of requests. So if he says, so if a man says, if an average man, okay, who's keeping his head above water, says to himself, I want a woman that's going to cook for me, clean for me, run the house, and take care of the children and take care of me. Well, before he even opens his mouth, if he has of any type of soundness to himself, he's gonna say, I can't afford that. I can't afford for a woman to stay home. I need a woman that's gonna work and go 50-50 on these bills. Well, if he says that, then he knows that there's going to be certain things that he has to put up with when he gets with a woman who is going to help and meet those things. But I'm going to tell you, it's not going to serve him well, because that type of woman is not going to always have a hot meal on a plate for him. That woman is not going to always have a clean house. That woman is not going to always be there to take care and pick up the kids and do things with the kids. She's not going to be able to do all of those things because she's not going to be as present, because she's out there working and helping. And even if she is present, she's going to give herself rest when she feels like she wants to. I went out there, I worked hard today, and I don't feel like dealing with nothing. I'm going home and I'm going to get me some rest. Or I'm going to go out with my girls, this, that, and the other. And it's really, can you blame them? It's hard for them to work. Now, if a woman, and you are doing those things, you should have an understanding about, hey, listen, I know you're going to be out here doing this, that, and the third, and I'm not going to be happy about this, and I'm not going to be happy about that. But that's what comes with the territory, or whatever the case may be. Just make sure you're respectful of me, or whatever the case may be. And if that person is trying to work with you, or whatever the case may be, then that's cool. But most of the time, things change when you have children. So if you have children, most of the time, from a maternal instinct, a woman wants to be home with her children. So no matter whether she has a regular job, whether she has a business, or whether she has an extraordinary job, extraordinary business, she went and got all of these different types of degrees to be able to make all this different types of money, or whatever the case may be. Most of the time when you ask a woman, how much of the bills do you want to pay? When you have children, they're going to tell you that they want it to either significantly drop, or they don't want to pay any. So then that comes back to, well, what good is her job and her career anyway if she is going to have children with you, and she's not going to want to be going out there in the world and doing those things. So at the end of the day, it really falls back on the men, and we have to work hard on ourselves so that we can become what we need to become, because in terms of survivorship, we need to be able to survive on our own strength, even though, like I said, marriage or men and women are interdependent upon each other, but they're interdependent upon each other for different needs. So a woman is interdependent on a man because she needs a man to be able to survive, for his manipulation of nature, the provisions and the protections. Because even if she's capable of physically doing that, the endurance of her doing that her whole life is not the case. Go look at a woman who's in her 60s and her 70s and in her 80s, and she's not able to do the things that she was able to do when she was in her 20s and her 30s. And because women operate on short-sightedness, and they operate on thinking with their feelings, women are more detail-oriented, and women are thinking more about what is happening to them and how it affects them now, and then not thinking about what is going to affect me later. Are there women that do that? Again, yes, there are. But it is something that self-discipline a woman has to have to exercise that. And any woman that knows and thinks about the future, she's going to see the value in a man. Because you can be as prepared as you want to be, but it's just certain things that money can't buy you. You can make all of them. When you get 50, 60, 70 years old, you could be making $25,000 a month easy. Or you could be making, because cost of living, you could be making $100,000 a month. You can pay for everything to get done, but there's certain things that you can't pay for that men do. So if you're of the thought process outside of what I'm saying, that's fine. I ain't talking to you, because I'm not put here for everybody. I'm put here for the people that I'm supposed to talk to, whether that's a small number of people or a large number. I am not looking for crossover appeal. I am just trying to be authentically myself. I'm trying to speak the power of truth. I'm not trying to give my truth because my truth don't matter. That's another way of saying lie. It's about what is the truth, what is the reality. And so I'm going to speak to that. And so the reality of the situation is, are typically since women are typically hypergamous, meaning they're looking for their superior, then it's not equality if you find someone who's superior. So if a woman is saying, I don't want to be with a man unless the qualities about this man is superior, then there cannot be possible that that woman is going to find that and expect equality. Because you as an individual, whether you're a man or a woman, you would never, ever know that you're capable of this and expect anything less from anybody else. Even if it's not a marriage, you wouldn't do that. Especially for women. Now, men who are self-sufficient, they're not concerned with the pairing. So a man can actually mentally, physically, spiritually, financially, emotionally check all of the boxes or whatever the case may be, and says to himself, I need someone. I need someone. I would like to be with someone. The whole mall of women are available to him. Just pick one. So we could pick a woman who is a lawyer, and we can pick a woman who lives at home with a mother. But if we see because the qualities that a man, even at his apex, need is intrinsically in a woman. And a woman can preserve intrinsically her value no matter what she goes and accomplishes outside in the world. Let me say that again. A woman who has preserved her intrinsic value can be on any level in terms of the world, and a man can find great value in that. Maybe a woman is working at McDonald's, but she's excellent at customer service. That can translate over into marriage. And you can go up to that woman and you can say, hey, listen, my lady doesn't need to work here. You don't have to work here. I'll take care of you. And you can actually take care of her, and then she doesn't have to work there, and then she can spend her time being and doing what you need her to do. Because see, here is the thing. A man needs supplement. And a wife is supposed to supplement her husband. That's her role. Her role is to be supplement for her husband. And some of you just fix your face at that. But the reality is, that's what a man who's got it going on, that's what he needs. He just needs a supplement. He just needs an assist. Listen, a man is supposed to be able to take care of his children. A man is supposed to be able to take care of his house. A man is supposed to be able to take care of the things and the matters outside of the house. He's supposed to be able to do it all. But it's not good for him to do it all. So when he gets with a woman, the best suited woman for him is one that's going to lean in an anticipatory fashion, looking to execute what needs to be supplemented. Like if a man is the breadwinner of his house, that doesn't necessarily mean that he doesn't ever need his wife to come through financially. He may have some ups and he may have some downs. And yeah, granted, the expectation is a man to never have any downs financially, right? Never have any downs. But life can happen. So a man can be on his square doing his thing, and then he can just fall on tough times from variables that he can control and variables that he can't control, because things happen. 9 out of 10 businesses fail. So if a man is a businessman, that doesn't mean he's not going to fail. He's got statistically a 10% chance of succeeding. But a wife though is going to supplement him in ways that if he should fall, if he should stumble, she's going to be right there to catch him. She's going to be right there to help him. Now, let's just say he makes $10,000 a month. Let's just say he makes $10,000 a month. Okay, he makes $120,000 a year. Okay, I'm just going to use that just because of the numbers purposes. All right, and let's just say that $120,000 a year is doing fine for her to be at home and this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. That doesn't mean if she has a particular skill or ability where she can pull in and bring in some resources, or she can make some connections to get him in touch with certain people, this, that, and the other. It might not even be monetarily. It might be her persuasion. It might be her beauty. It might be her personality, or whatever the case may be, that draws certain people in for the sake of his business. She can take him from 120 to 1.2 million without even trying. But if she's sitting back and she's saying, well, I don't need to do anything. I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna watch TV and I'm gonna eat my bonbons or whatever it is she does. Then when the storms come, they're gonna feel it more. Now let's just say he has a long run, a long streak. Let's say they get married, and let's just say the first 5-6 years he doesn't have any slip ups in general, and he's doing his thing and he's making his money. She could be doing some things that she could be generating money too. And she could say, you know what, I'm going to just put this together. I'm going to put this away for a rainy day. And then let's just say 7-8 years come and he runs on tough times. How cool would it be if he looks at his wife, if he comes home and he's down about the fact that he's going through tough times with his business, and she looks at him and say, you know what, I didn't know if this day would come or not, but I always wanted to have you back. Look, I've been making a little money here, a little money there, or whatever the case may be, and I just been storing it up in our storehouse. I just been storing it up in my storehouse. And over the last 8 years, I have like, $125,000 saved up. Even if she just saved it up, right? And inflation was biting at it, it's still $125, right? So then this allows them to breathe and be able to, okay, I just need to get myself back together. Okay, I need to work hard to get these things taken care of. I need to go out there and I need to make more relationships, and I need to do this and I need to do that, da 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 da, blah 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 blah. She supplemented him. Because see, a woman on her own in the early years of her life, she's supposed to have some self-sufficiency. I didn't say independence. Self-sufficiency, meaning she has the capability of being able to do what she has to do without compromising her integrity. I ain't talking about doing something immoral. Shout out to the women that do strange things to make a piece of change. I ain't knocking you, but what I'm saying is, if with thought and skill, there are certain things that wouldn't even be an option for you. But I ain't even knocking women that don't exercise that thoughtfulness, and they go and they do something strange for a piece of change. Okay. And what I mean by that, remember the movie Players Club? Remember Diamond was going to the club and dancing because she was trying to pay for school. Literally, she wasn't sleeping with anybody. She wasn't doing that. There's strippers out there that go into the strip club, dance, and then go home. But then there's strippers who go and dance and they want a little bit more money, so they host these private parties. Then they end up having sex and then they end up getting trains ran on them or whatever the case may be. I'm not talking about those women. I'm talking about the women that's doing what they got to do, but they doing everything they can to guard and preserve themselves. Because when you go out into this world, you're exposed. That's why they say women need covering. Because if a woman is covered, think about that. If you go out into the world and let's just say it's snowing outside and you go out there with no clothes on at all, what is the likelihood of you getting sick? It's very likely. But if you have the appropriate clothes to go outside, then you decrease the odds of getting sick from a cold or worse. So coverage. And no, that doesn't mean that a woman is sitting in a house cooped up. But what I'm saying is when a woman goes out into the world, she got on the gear that she needs to best protect her. And even when a woman has gear that she needs to best protect her, that doesn't mean that she's not going to still be exposed to certain things. So women are companions and helpmates And when they want to go out and do things, and really and truthfully, they're supposed to be covered at all times. But when a woman wants to go out there into the world, she just needs to be able to have the guidance, the wherewithal, and the wisdom to make sure that she has everything from a thoughtful standpoint that she needs when she goes out there. If my wife goes out there and she has to go to the store, she will look at the weather. And if they say there is a 30% chance of rain, she takes her umbrella with her. Okay? Why? Because if she doesn't have her umbrella and it rains on her, then she could catch a cold. So she's getting an umbrella so that if it rains, that she doesn't get rained on. You understand? So we have to be mindful of these things, and we have to say to ourselves, okay, if I'm a pick me as a woman, if I'm a pick me, I need to find out who I am. And I'm going to go back to this, and I'm going to say this until the cows come home. A woman don't have no business being in a relationship until she's 21 years old. And here's why. The first 18 years of her life, typically she's going to be at home, right? So the first 18 years of her life, there's this development into a woman. But when she gets 18, and let's just say she goes out on her own, then there is a 3-year period that's critical for her to find out who she is and test what she can do and what she can't do. By the time she gets 21 years old, she should know what she can do, what she can't do. Now, I'm not telling her to get married when she's 21. But what I'm saying is, now that she's 21, she's supposed to be in the mindset of finding a mate. And why are women in their 20s not doing this and wasting their time having hot girl summers and getting mileage ran up on them and trying to travel and have all of these experiences? It's because society has postured that deal to women, and it's a bad deal. Because all you got to do is ask the women who've done that, why did they do it? Now, some of them who are egotistical will tell you, I'm glad I did it. But reality is, when you're with a man, he wants to provide you an experience, and he wants to provide you things that you've never had before. So if you go out there and you have every experience possible, you go out there and you have every experience possible, and you get with a man, and every time he tries to give you an experience, he can't give you that experience. What is it going to make you do? It's going to make you raise your level of expectation of a man to astronomical levels that are not attainable. So if you traveled around the world in the 7 seas on your whim in your 20s because you got flew out by dudes, you had yacht parties, things that you didn't have to work for that you got because you were beautiful and you responded to somebody in your DMs. When you're going to say, okay, I want to continue these experiences with my husband to be. You're going to process of eliminate 9 out of 10 men. Even when a woman says, hey, I want a man who makes 6 figures. At best, I think the numbers is like 15%, 10% of men, of the population makes over 6 figures. Okay, so then there's this website right here. It's called GoBankKingRates.com, and it says, in terms of 6 figures, a minority of Americans make over $100,000 a year. And that is 33.6% of Americans make 6 figures annually, and 15% of those earn between $100,000 and $150,000. So a lot of the ladies out, so a lot of the women out here don't want a man that makes 100,000. She wants somebody that's comfortably over 100,000. And so when we're talking about 15% of those earn between $100,000 and $150,000, we're not talking about just men. We're not talking about just copper tone colored people. We're talking about everybody. And who's the most educated in the world? What group? copper tone women. Yeah, black women are by far and away the most educated in terms of getting their degrees in education. So you would think that a degree will get you a higher paying job, right? So the men aren't having that as much as the clip of women. And so when we start talking about, let's just say half of those were men and half of those were women. So what's half of 15%? 7.5%, which raises, which mentions my point. Even though we know women outnumber men, but that even raises the point that I'm trying to make to you ladies, to you women. If you're going to be with the more experiences that you go out there and get, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be, because you are hypergamous and you want superior, you're going to want somebody that's going to give you better experiences. You're going to want somebody to take you to better places. You're going to want somebody to give you better at everything. And then when we start talking about getting you better at everything, if you're one of the women that makes over $100,000, then you are one of the 15%. So essentially, at that rate, if half of the women, if half are women and half are men, then that means you're only choosing from a pool of 7.5% of the American population. So you and do you think that there's men who are making $80,000, $70,000, $60,000, $50,000 that are great quality men that checks off a lot of the boxes? Yes, but because you're hypergamous and you allowed yourself to go out there and have those experiences, you're cutting them off. So you say, well, what am I supposed to do? Be nothing, do nothing, and then get with a man because and let him be the reason for my experiences? Well, I'm not saying you have to do that. But what I am saying is, you going out there and making six figures, you going out there and achieving this experience and that experience, you're cornering your options in terms of what you would entertain. It would be fine if you went out there and you did all of those things and you say, I'd be more than happy to be with a man that makes $50,000 a year, because that's what the average man makes. You know, any color. So if you could drop the hypergamy, it'd be okay for you to go out there and do whatever you wanted to do and accomplish and have experiences that you want to have. But we know you're not going to do that. And we're not going to ask you to do something that you don't want to do. But what I am saying is you're cornering the market in terms of who you can compete for. And what hurts you even more is when you become 30, you're not going to be able to compete with your 20-year-old you. Okay? When you become 40, you're not going to be able to compete with the 30 and the 25-year-old you. So, and the reason I say that is because the best version of yourself, the best optimal time, because when you get married, marriage is about being together and creating a family and legacy and stuff like that, right? So your eggs got to be available to be able to do that. What better time for your eggs? Your eggs start to, whenever you start to have your period, that's when you can have children. And what did I say earlier? Not only should men not mess with women that are 18 years old, 19 years old, 20 years old, but 21 and up, is simply because even though a woman is physically developed at 18, because we ain't gonna even talk about pedophilia stuff, okay? That's out the window. Hell no. But when we start talking about women that are 18, 19, 20, and 20, 18, 19, and 20 years old, they should be in a boot camp with themselves in trying to find out what they can do and what they can do, what skills they need and what skills that they don't need to waste their time on. That's for them. And it's going to be according to their purpose. Once she's 21, then she puts herself in position to what I like to call drop her handkerchief. She doesn't want an attention from some bum, but she might want an attention from certain types of men or a certain type of man. So she needs to be in the location where that type of man is, and then she needs to drop her handkerchief. And then he needs to be interested in her. And what will make a man interested in a woman is her preservation, her exclusivity. A man, you can be fine as you want to be, and some of you women out there are fine. But I hate to say this, but you could be as fine as you want to be. But at the end of the day, if that guy wants to, but if you have children, and it's not by that man, that's going to be a hurt to you. And your children may be gorgeous. You may have some of the most beautiful, smartest, well-behaved children, or whatever the case may be. But those children are your investments. That's your assets, and that's the one that helped create those assets. The children's father. So you got to watch where you lay. So when we start talking about these pick-me's understand that men want exclusivity, that understand that men want status. They understand that men want complement, supplement. And because they understand that, they shouldn't be shamed to not being that. This is why we're heading down the road of by 2030 that over 50% of eligible marriageable women won't be married. And it's already 1 in 4. 1 in 4 women will never get married. Ain't that scary? So if it's 100 million women, right? We're just using that number. If it's 100 million women, isn't it alarming that 75 million of them won't get married ever? And yeah, I got it. Some women don't want to get married. Okay. For the women that don't want to be married, the Godfather told you, you need about 3 million to be able to retire when you're 65, to live out your life. And what did I say? The money ain't the only thing. It's something, but the money ain't the only thing that you need to survive. You might feel as a woman that you don't need companionship. You might feel as a woman that you don't need to be anybody's helpmate. But a lot of you also feel like, because I'm in the finance industry, a lot of you feel like you don't have to put money towards retirement either. But we all know how critical retirement is. 2 things is going to happen to all of us. We're going to either make it to retirement or we're not. If we don't make it to retirement, it's about who we're leaving behind. If we do make it to retirement, it's about, do you have enough? Because the older you get, the less you need. So like when you're young, you need more things in place in case something doesn't happen. So I got to make sure that this mortgage is paid off so I can leave this to the house, to the kids. I got to make sure that these debts are paid so they don't come out to my children. I got to make sure that these, this, I got to make sure that. I got to make sure this, I got to make sure that. But here is the thing. When we do an annual review to see if there's any life changes, and it's quick. Sometimes I'm calling my customers and I'm like, hey, how you doing? Did anything change? Okay, everything's good? All right, talk to you later. But when you have life changes, there's going to be certain things that happen, okay? So if I talk to a couple and they don't have any children, what they need is not the same as if I talk to them again and they say, hey, we're pregnant. Or, hey, we have a child now. You know what I'm saying? So if that's the case, well, it is the case, then there's certain things that you might feel like you don't need right now that you'll need later. And marriage is, I'm not going to even say marriage. I'm going to say covenant. Because once upon a time, that legal paper wasn't even a thing. You got to think about in America, you got to think about our government and how long our government's been around. It's like our government's been around about 500, 1,000 years. No, there was no case. So marriage is about the covenant. It's about the promise, the vow that you make to the person that you're trying to partner with. And what are the terms and what are the conditions? So, if you're a woman, being a pick-me says I love myself. Because you're going to be focused and understanding of what it takes to get picked. And you don't want to get picked if it's temporary. If I'm talking to you, the one that wants to get married, the one that wants to be married. If you want to be married, like I said, 18 years, Your parents are responsible for how you start. Some of you got everything that you need, and some of you don't have everything that you need. That's of no consequences. You're supposed to get yourself together. And if it takes you longer than 3 years for you to do some exploration of yourself or whatever the case may be, because I'm not telling you to get married at 21. What I'm saying is you start to make yourself and put yourself in position. Once you know who you are. Once you know who you are, 24, 25, 26, that's a fine age to get married. Because your window is 21 to 29. Because as soon as you start turning 30, something happens to you biologically. I don't know, I can't explain it, but it's like something biologically happens to you. You're not as fertile anymore or anything like that. And fertility is a very big, important part of it, okay? And how many children do you need to have? That's between you and your husband. But what I am saying is your most fertile years as an adult, a consenting adult, is 21 to 29. And why do I not recommend 18, 19, and 20? It's because you're still trying to find out who you are on your own. See, because when you're up to 18 years old, it's whomever is taking care of you. You're under their whim. But if you're going to try to do some semblance of spreading your wings, then you're going to need that time to find out what you're made of. That's why I say, men, leave the women. I don't care how fine she is. Even if she's 19, like, leave her alone. Because what will end up happening is she may find herself in her mid-20s. And when she finds herself in her mid-20s, she's going to look at you and say, oh, no, I made a mistake. And it don't matter how many kids you got. And it don't matter what you've been through and what you did and how much you committed to her. She just may find herself to be someone that doesn't want to be with you. And that's wrong for both of you. So what are you saying? We might as well stay together? No. What I'm saying is to avoid that error, leave the youngins alone. Now, a lot of people are saying, oh, if you're 40 years old, you're 45 years old, what you doing messing with a 20-year-old? Don't listen to that. Because the reality is, if it's a choice between somebody who is experienced versus somebody who's not experienced, men want women that are not experienced. Don't tell me that a man wants a woman that's going to, have whoopee with him like an adult entertainer. Oh, don't you want a woman that can arch her back? Don't you want a woman that can put it on you? This, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. Let me explain this to you. When it comes to that, okay, I don't know about you fellas. Generally speaking, we enjoy those things, but we're teachers. So I would rather teach you how to do what I like than for you to come to the bedroom and you teaching me. Because if you're teaching me, it comes from experience. Now, if you haven't been there before, ladies, and you get in the bedroom and you just got a knack, okay, some people born with gifts. I started playing football when I was a senior in high school, and I ended up getting a scholarship to Ohio State. That's an anomaly. So you might run across a unicorn where a woman has never been with anybody and gets in the bed and she just got a knack for just pleasing you. But I'm just telling you, ladies, we're not opposed to teaching you because we want to teach you. Think about this. Imagine being with a woman and she do some toe curling, make your head spin, eyes rolling in the back of your head type stuff. As a man, by nature, you're going to be like, how many people she do that to? And ladies will tell, and women will tell you, why does that matter? Because it's about exclusivity. A man wants to have something that nobody's had if he has his way about it. A man does not want to be with a woman that everybody done had. You walking down the street and a dude laughing, smiling, and giggling because he hit that. That's what happens, ladies, when you do it. And dudes will, after they smash a girl, they'll go and they'll tell anybody and everybody that will listen. Bringing more people to your door. And if you like them, you might try them. So that's what men are looking for. Men don't want problems. Men don't want to get in. It's already a raw deal to get married as a man. But if we are going to enter a marriage with a woman, then what we want to be is assured of certain things. Like we want to be assured that if we treat you well, that if we love you, that we honor you and we cherish you, and we do the very best that we can for you, we want to have some semblance of knowing you ain't gonna go nowhere. And y'all are flight risk as a whole, because 8 out of 10 of these marriages ended in divorce. And some of the things that women are divorcing their husbands about is comical. Somebody you and I both know in the news right now, and I don't even care when you listen to this video, right now, I don't care if you listen to it in 15, 20 years from now, right now you know somebody in the news who got a divorce, and when asked why did they get a divorce, said, it's because I wasn't happy. When in fact, you can't make, happiness has to come from within. A man can't make you happy. Because if you're miserable and I'm coming to try to bring you joy, you won't even open your doors for joy. So you have to have an environment conducive to be able to receive. And some of you, because you don't work on yourself, men and women, you don't open yourself up to the environment to be able to receive. So I'm telling you guys, and I want to wrap this up. If you are with someone, or you would like to be with someone, as a woman, it's about your preservation. You cannot go out here in the world and increase your value as a woman because your value is intrinsic. It's already inside. It's about how do you get the value that's inside of you to manifest itself, and how do you get the value that's inside of you to preserve as long as possible. Because ladies, when you have children with men, when you have your first child with a man, your value in the dating market drops. But your value to the one you had a baby with has the potential to go up. So, moral of that story is, don't have kids with people that you're not sure if they value you. If you have any questions about someone valuing you, don't sleep with them. Now, if you are the woman who has been with a lot of men, okay, ask yourself this question. Of all of the men that you slept with, how many of them actually deserve to sleep with you? And I guarantee you, if you slept with 50 men, 30 men, 15 men, 150 men, 200 men, 1,000 men, whatever it is, I can guarantee you that it is a lopsidedness in terms of how many of them deserved your body and how many of them didn't. And don't sit here and act like it's any other thing. That's a self-value type deal. Every time you lay with a guy, he leaves an indelible mark on you. And a bond is created. And if you're telling yourself it isn't, you're lying. It's already been scientifically proven that the feel-good hormone is released when a woman has sex with a man. A bonding hormone is released when a woman has sex with a man. Now, I'm not saying that men don't get them either, because there is a time. I'm not saying men can sleep with anybody that they want. But we don't release as much of it as women, and so it doesn't affect us as much. What affects us is women that we deal with as men that get over on us. That messes us up. That abuses us. But for a woman, even if a man isn't abusive to you, when you sleep with him and then you guys cut off from each other, you're spread it thin. And then that's one of the reasons why you'll find a great guy, and you find yourself trying to find a reason not to be with that guy. Like you're in an internal war with yourself about why you should be with this guy. He's so simple. He's boring. He's predictable. I don't like that. I need spontaneity. So you come up with these words like, oh, I need this and I need that, or whatever the case may be. And then you actually get it. and then you got a headache. It's cool when women tell men what they should and shouldn't like, what they should and shouldn't want, what they should and shouldn't need. It's cool because society has propped our women up to be able to use that abusively. But when you turn the coin over, it is blasphemous. It is preposterous for a man to do the same thing. And the reality is, we don't want to do that. Not a real man, but a real man, it's like y'all don't want him to have standards. Y'all want him to be tolerant. He can't have no kids, but you want him to accept your kids. He need to be making money, but you can be in between jobs. He got to have good credit, but your credit is terrible. This is what I mean by hypergamy. You want somebody to be accepted of your bull crap, but you ain't accepting no bull crap. And it's a two-way street. You want it brought to the table, you got to bring something to the table too. This is BYOB, bring your own bag. You can't come to the table that's full, ready for feast, and you ain't do or have any parts of anything that contributed to what's to the table. If you're not bringing the resources to the table, are you cooking what's at the table? Are you cleaning the mess up once we finish eating at the table? Are you building the table? Are you setting the foundation? Are you going getting the forks, knives, and the spoons? Are you putting laying the plates out? It's got to be something that you do that contributes. But the other part is your partner has to value what you're contributing. And some men might value you bringing the plates, the knives, and the forks. And then some men, they don't care for that. So you can't change what he wants. Well, most men value me bringing the plates and the knives and the forks to the table. And he might be like, man, I don't want no plastic. Man, I want fine cutlery. Go get that. And you be like, well, I ain't going to do that. Well, then you're missing what he wants. How can you, when a man makes a request and when a man has his standards and you trivialize his standards, how does that equate to respect? And look, I get it. What he may be asking for may not be your MO. That's fine. Move along. Both of you. Give him an opportunity to find what he's looking for. If what he's asking for is too daunting, it's not your job to tell him that what he's asking for is too daunting. Just let him go and try to be and find what he's trying to be and find. But he's got to look in the mirror on that. But men don't have a problem with facing reality because reality is smacked in their face at every whimsical. But it's the same thing that goes for you. If what you asking for is what you asking for and you're not willing to compromise that, that's fine. But it is up to you to find out how realistic it is for you to find what it is you're finding. And some of you want perfection, and I'm telling you, there is nobody that wants perfection. You need to know what I just told you about the stats. You want a man that makes six figures? We were talking about the low end six figures. 15% makes between 100 and 150,000. So in a lot of instances, you guys want, if I told you, like I said earlier, about 7.5%, if I told you, get in this car with me, and it's a 7.5% chance that we're going to survive. You still getting in the car? You still gonna get in the car? Nope. You a fool if you get in the car because you don't like those odds, right? Well, it's the same thing with some of these outrageous expectations that you have for men. Nobody's telling you that you have to compromise everything, but you got to really look at your list and find out what are some things that you can deal with, what are some things you can't deal without, and what are some things you're willing to compromise. Because that's what you're going to have to do. You ain't gonna. Every woman ain't gonna be able to find a man that makes six figures, got 6 inches, and is 6 feet tall or above. It's just not even possible, right? Not even possible. And if I don't want to say impossible, but the odds are not in your favor. But if you find a man that is 6 feet tall, that's got 6 inches or more, and that's got 6 foot height or above, and he's got those things, he already knows more than likely he's a unicorn. So he's gonna have some choices, and he's gonna be picky. And if you're not the one he wants to pick, ain't nothing you can do about it. So your best bet is if you want to play in that pool, you need to know what those types of men in that pool want. And you have to determine, is it worth being that person? Because that person's going to have choices. You're not going to get that person and lock him down and keep him from getting anybody and everybody. I remember one time I was messing with this woman and she was trying to lock me down. I was going to Ohio State. She was trying to lock me down. Early in the game, trying to lock me down. And didn't want me to do anything, didn't want me to see anything, whatever. And I had to tell her, I said, hey, hold on. I'm going to look. Well, if you don't like me looking, get out. I'm gonna, I'm gonna be friendly to people. I'm gonna talk to people. If you don't like me being friendly and talking to people, man, there's the door. And you know what she said? Well, fine. And I don't care, or I don't know if she regrets it or not. But I know one thing: she didn't get with me, and she was beautiful. But I knew because of what was going on in my life and what I had, I knew I knew that I didn't have to put up with that. Now, if I was some, subpar, whatever the case may be, according to the society standards or whatever the case may be, and I said, I would never be able to have an opportunity with a woman that looks like, be like, act like this, then I would acquiesce to it. I would have to compromise more. But men who have it going on work hard to have it going on because we don't have any kind of value unless we go out there and acquire it. So you mean to tell me I got to go out there and I have to acquire my value and then I'm supposed to just take anything? I'm supposed to just think about this, ladies. I want to wrap this up. I keep saying this, but I really want to drive this home. Just think about this, because a lot of you out there raising these children by yourself, right? Let's just say you got a son, right? The son that you treat like your boyfriend, right? The son that you tell is the man of the house. The son that you call king, right? You work very, very hard to make sure, because your son is everything to you. You work very, very hard to posture and position your son to get and be the best at everything, right? Now, all of a sudden, you sent your son off to college or whatever the case may be. You pay for his school and everything like that, whatever the case may be. Miss Independent, you were able to pay his school off, this, that, and the other. And then one day he comes to your house and he is, let's just say he's 25 years old, and he comes to your house and he's with a 37-year-old woman. Even if she ain't got no kids, would you want that for your son? Don't lie and say, well, if it makes him happy, okay, well, what's your relationship going to be like with her? You're probably going to be bitter because that's not what you expected or wanted for your son. You want him to be with a woman closer to his age, right? You want, and let's just say she had some children. Let's say she had a couple of kids. She could even have one child and you would be spazzing out. Let's say you find out that she went through some traumas You want that? You want that for your son? Nope. Nope. So you got to start thinking about men in context of how you want it for your son. You don't. And think of it like this: if your son met a carbon copy of you, from the way you look to what you have, good and bad, and you could label that person another person. Let's just say your name is Tanya, and let's just say the girl name is Kim, for the sake of argument. But y'all are a carbon copy of each other. Y'all got the same amount of everything. So, are you going to push for him to be with that woman? Then don't be that woman. Make better choices and decisions. Now, granted, I can't talk to the people who are, already in there late, whatever. If you're hearing what I'm saying, the best thing that you can do is just try to work on your preservation and work on trying to lower some of your expectations, your standards, or whatever the case may be, and find all of the things on your check boxes that you're willing to compromise. Because I'm just telling you right now, the older you get, the more you're going to need that companionship more than ever. The more you're going to need that covering more than ever. And I'm telling you right now, ladies, if you're in your 30s or your 40s or whatever the case may be, and you don't have, and I ask you the question, how much do you have saved up for retirement? Are you on the trajectory to have $3.5 million by the time you're 65? If you're not, you're going to need that partnership. The only way that you can sustain being on your own for the rest of your life is you have to be able to financially afford it. And it's going to be one or two things that push you into retirement. Everybody don't get to work for 40 years and from 25 to 65 and then retire. Some people get disability and stuff like that, and then it inhibits them from being able to go out there and make the full earning potential that they are trying to earn. So if that is the case, you can't play Russian roulette like that. You need to find somebody that you can settle with and consolidate. Because it's a lot different when you're paying all of your bills or when you pay versus paying half or none of your bills. Or anything between 0 and 50%. It's a big difference than paying 100%. Now you better be with somebody that's trying to build. I'm just telling you, real man ain't trying to get in relationships and leave. It's too pricey for us to get in relationships and leave. There's something extreme has to happen for a man to leave. And even sometimes, and what I mean by extreme is disloyalty and infidelity. But even in those situations, men are trying to find a way to heal within the relationship when those things happen. They go through stress and depression and all kinds of things. And manhood just taking this hit because they know it ain't good business to get into a marriage and leave a marriage. It's profitable for a woman to get in a marriage and leave a marriage. But it ain't good for a man to get in a marriage and leave a marriage. The only way that a marriage is good for a man is if she's got the mindset of being a companion and the mindset of being a help and the mindset of never leaving his side. That's the only way that it benefits a man. So marriage is important, but because of the different types of loopholes that they've allowed women to get out of marriages for, women are opting for the loopholes. Just like women opted for government assistance over having a man in their house. So overwhelmingly, women are opting to do that. Take a listen to this. A racial and gender breakdown of food stamp recipients. And this is from BET.com, okay? So, about 4 out of 10 black women, or 39%, have received food stamps compared to 21% of black men. Meanwhile, 19% of white women receive food stamps. Now, so I know that number for white women is less, but you got to remember the percentage of the population of white people is 69% in America, and the percentage of the population of black people, I think, is somewhere between 12 and 14%. Go check that. But for 40% of the black women that are on welfare, 4 out of 10. So 4 out of 10 are getting government assistance. And when you get government assistance, you already know what it's like about having a man in the house. They don't want you to do that. They're not giving you that government assistance and having no man in the house. Unless y'all ain't making no money, and y'all don't want to be with a man that y'all ain't making no money. Y'all don't want to be with a man if y'all getting, think about that, getting government assistance, and your man's just laying around the house doing nothing, right? How many of y'all are tolerating that? Y'all gonna be playing that "I Could Do Bad All by Myself" song, and then y'all gonna be playing that tune, and he gonna be out of there. So the measures are put together to try to divide and break us up. And then same thing. If a woman is money oriented and she's with a guy, instead of having to deal with him, take care of him, tolerate him, or whatever the case, she can get rid of the whole dude and still get financial benefits. It seems like you guys are choosing in an overwhelming, alarming 80%, an overwhelming, alarming rate. You're choosing the money over the man. You don't value men anymore, and society as a whole don't value men anymore. Manhood is uh, what do you call it? Manhood is an endangered species because it's men that are still trying to do it, and the men that are still trying to do it, like myself, the men who are still trying to do it, it's a uphill battle just to be. We're not glorified for it. We're not encouraged to continue to do it. We're not getting a pat on the back. Good job. Keep up the good work. We're not getting that more than we're getting the resistance. And because a lot of times women don't even know what they want to eat from time to time, they don't even really know what they want. I was on this thread in this group, and this girl said that she'll take a simp any day. Now, the definition of a simp is a man that will say anything to get access to a woman. So you want a dude to lie to you and tell you all of the sweet nothings in your ear? That's not true? I guess so. Or women today, they like these tricks. And what is a trick? It's a dude that exercises his power to get what he wants from a woman by money. So maybe that dude has a good career, or maybe that dude is making a lot of money. So right away, he's taking these women out to these fancy dinners. He's taking her out shopping. He's spending a whole bag on her. 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. There was this NBA player. I'm not going to mention his name. You probably know him. He took this. He took this girl out on a date and spent. He took this girl out and spent like $500,000 on her. Like, I wouldn't spend five. A real wife wouldn't want you to spend that money because she's affected by the choices that you make with that money. When you don't have a relationship with a woman, she's not affected. She's not affected by how much money. She's not negatively affected by you spending a lot of money on her because y'all ain't got no dealings with each other. Y'all ain't got nothing with each other. But she certainly stands to benefit. It's like if I got enough for food for 1 month, and you don't have any food, and you want to go out to eat at Chez a la whatever it is, you don't have no money. So if you get that meal, it's a plus for you. Feeds right into the hypergamy. But if that meal is going to inhibit me from how I'm going to eat the rest of the month, and you know that, and you still don't care, I shouldn't be spending any money on you. Fellas, that's why I'm saying to you, stop dating and start courting. Courtship is free. Dating costs. And during the dates, the women are not paying. You are. Don't let them dupe you into thinking you're supposed to be paying. It's a man's job to pay. It's a man's job to provide, and it's a man's job to protect. That is half the truth. Because if we just went with that, girls all over the city wouldn't have to do anything. They could get a man to just come by and just give them free sponsorship, and there would be nothing in it for men. And that's how they think we're stupid, because they think we can do these things for them, take them out, buy them things, this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be, and not be our girl. It is not profitable for you to take a girl out on a date and spend money. If if y'all getting to know each other and y'all want to get to know each other or whatever the case may be, and y'all want to do it over dinner, I'm telling you this right now. Either y'all split the bill or y'all make an agreement that you pay one time and she pays one time. When you're getting to know somebody, there has to be some semblance. Now, I always know it's one person that likes the other person more, but there has to be some semblance of mutual interest. And the only way to mutually show interest is whatever you guys are doing together, you guys go in on together. And that's gonna ruffle a lot of women's feathers, but we don't care. What we want to do is we want to say, hey, look, in order for you to get to that place, you have to earn the right. I have to see that you care about me and you care about my well-being. I need to see some semblance of that. If you hungry and I'm hungry, I need to see that you're willing to give me the last piece. I need to be, you don't have to, but I need to see that, and I need to feel the sincerity of it and the consistency. I need to see that if you're well and I'm sick, I need to see you taking care of me. I don't need to see, well, I got to go to work. I need to know that you're going to attempt to call off from work, and I might call you bluff sometime. Let me have the option of being able to say, no, baby, go ahead to work. I'll be fine. But if you say you want me to take off work just because that's the political thing to say, you want me to take off work and come stay with you or whatever the case may be, I might put you on bluff and I might say yes. And then I'm going to watch your actions. You want me to sit there and you want me to spend the bag on you, you want me to do this, you want me to do that, so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, when I need you, you make excuses. That's the type of woman you shouldn't be spending nothing on. So fellas, yeah, you're supposed to take a woman out. When you take her out on a date, you're supposed to pay this, that, and the other, whatever the case may be. But that's really for folks that have already vested. She should create the vibe to want you to do that. She shouldn't ask you for that. Because I'm going to tell you, truth be told, if anybody asks me out for dinner, you paying. Because I didn't ask you. You invite my money? No. You hungry? You ain't have enough to eat? So you invite my money? No. You don't get that unless you mine. Unless we together. Because you really don't get that unless we live together. Unless I just got some disposable income that I want to throw away. But even if I got disposable income that I want to throw away and I don't want anything in return for you, it's just a bad investment. It's a bad investment to invest in something and not expect something in return. And there's nothing wrong with you having an expectation. That's messed up. So I'm supposed to just take you out on a dinner and then don't get your phone number. Don't try to get close to you. Don't try to get me no draws. Don't try to do none of that stuff. Just, here, come on. Today I'm going to take out Keisha. And after I drop off Keisha, then I'm going to go home. And then, she doesn't have to call me. Because, man, I might as well get an escort. See, an escort would be more serviceable than a woman like that. Because an escort would know what the expectations are. Escort, and I've never had an escort, but that escort, when you see it on TV or you hear about it from your friends or people that you know, that escort knows that their job, number one, is to be a companion. And you are, and a lot of times when you talk about escorts or whatever the case may be, guys who are in business are taking the escort with them because they're trying to just take someone beautiful to complement the deal. You know what I'm saying? So, pick-me's. Men love them. We love pick-me's, but men, put yourself in the position to be a pick-em. You can't be picking them if you ain't in a position to pick them. So stop focusing on picking them. See what I said about women in their 21 to 29 year window, the 21 to 29-year old window. Okay, men, you don't have that biological clock, but you do have the life clock. And here's the funny thing, man. You don't know when your life clock is up. Just because men are living to be XYZ age doesn't mean that that's where you're gonna make it. You may make it to it, you may not make it to it, and you may not, and you may make it past it, but you don't know. So you can't move like you know. So you got to hurry up and get to where you got to get to efficiently and as effectively as you can, so that you can enjoy the fruits of the spoils of your fruit. All right. So in closing, and I'm really closing out now because I'm getting tired. But in closing, you have to make sure, fellas, that you are not wasting your time being a pimp or a simp. The only woman that's worth building with is a pick me. It's straight up. Being with a woman that is a feminist is a bad idea. Being with a woman who isn't concerned about a man and his well being is a bad idea. Being with a woman who doesn't have the mindset of being a helpmate, bad idea. Don't want to do companionship, bad idea. Flake on those things, bad idea. You're asking me as a man to commit my life to you and forsake all of my other options, but you ain't gonna be but when the circumstances aren't right, you're not gonna be my companion. You're not gonna be my helpmate. You're not gonna be my lover. So you want me to? I have access to any woman that I want, and you're gonna cut me off from having any woman that I want because you want me all to yourself. But then you ration it out to me when and how you want to, and you're too busy for me at every whimsical to be able to give me access to the things I need in a relationship. And fellas, if she flaky and she's doing that stuff when she's trying to get with you, and as soon as she get with you, she stops doing that stuff, don't be afraid. Cut her off. But pay attention to how she moves and operates and the consistency thereof. All right? So that's it. That's my time. I enjoyed you guys, man. Make sure you stay up. I love all the women. I love all of the men. We are in this thing together. We are interdependent. We need each other. Just remember that. And I love you.